Ravens Steelers. He threw a pick to Ed Reed. I jumped up in excitement, and this pit bull bit me right on my ass. So if I didn't like him on the field, I don't like him because of that too. Because that shit hurt so bad.
Good morning, everybody. It is January 5th, 2022. Man, that's awesome. It's not 2021 anymore. Look at that. Brand new year. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Chad Cummings, Brad Cummings. Welcome to the Flock Squawk podcast, where we talk everything Ravens. We're going to be recapping yet another loss for the boys. They fall to the Los Angeles Rams, 20-19. Much closer game than I expected it to be. So I guess we'll start with Chad. Some general impressions on your end. Like, what were some of the things that you noticed about this game? And how do you think it could have played out differently?
Yeah, our defense played pretty good. Getting those guys back from COVID list and injuries. Jimmy Smith, Calais Campbell played a full game. Bowser got off the COVID list. Chuck Clark was back. Geno Stone. Yeah, I mean, our defense looked completely different than we did against Cincinnati the prior week. We stopped them without them scoring. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then we got them pinned down again, and then we get that pick six, Chuck Clark, and I was like, this is looking pretty good. Our defense was all over the place, I was very ecstatic about that. Tony Jefferson, man, he got picked up last week. He had a prior stint with us. He played 2 or 3 years with us. He played pretty well his first 2 years. The last year, he kind of fell off a little bit toward his ACL, and he was cut the next season. He looks like he has something to prove. He's been playing lights out, just like tackle for losses against Cincinnati in the second half when he played, and then this game he was all over the place. A couple tackle for losses. That big play on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game, tackling Sony Michel with that little pitch from Odell Beckham. Little try to trickery to get them the 3-point lead. The biggest takeaway was if we score touchdowns instead of field goals in the red zone, we win this game. And that's pretty impressive with, still pretty much our backup. It is what it is. Now we're on the playoffs outside looking in, and we have a 3.5% chance of making the playoffs. We need all this stuff to fall our way. I tip my hat to this team and the coaching staff because, the list, you can go down the list of all the IR players and Lamar not playing the last 4 or 3 games, all the COVID issues the last 2-3 weeks. But overall, man, we fought our asses off this season. It shows a lot of heart and dedication to a team and to their city to play this hard. I'm optimistic for the next season when we have all 25 guys back from IR and, all these backup players that got almost pretty much a full season of work. And I'm upset we're not going to the playoffs. But, there's a chance, but it ain't happening.
Yeah, it's such slim margins at this point. I think, 3.5% chance to make the playoffs. And we'll break that down when we get towards the end of the pod when we do our playoff breakdown. I know Chad has all those numbers and everything. Brad, I want to get your opinions on this because there were a lot of things that it's funny. I was thinking about you during the game where Matt Stafford takes the first drive and he's down, deep inside Baltimore's 20. And I'm like, man, if Brad's right, he throws a pick six here, we could be in the game. And I texted you guys and I was like, this is it. He's going to throw a pick six, just like Brad said. It doesn't end up happening. It happens on the second drive.
Yep.
Chuck Clark takes it back to the end zone. I was like, man, Brad, look at that, dude. But it ended up not being enough because, like Chad said, our offense, I mentioned a few weeks ago where it just seems like Justin Tucker is going to have to kick 3 or 4 field goals a game. That's just how this season felt. Was there anything that you noticed during this game that stood out to you?
Our defense was pretty phenomenal. We're going up against, obviously, we just allowed a 500-plus throwing game the game before, and then come back in with another team that has heavy hitters on their offense to hold them to only, 20 points. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're definitely going to be making a good push into the playoffs themselves. So, I was impressive. It's nice that, like Chad said, to know that we are going to have, when we get everybody healthy, the fact that we're making these moves. If we didn't have Lamar Jackson, we wouldn't even be really talking anything about playoffs. We would have stopped talking about playoffs week 6. Our offense really stepped up too. I really like Huntley. He has not let us down. The only game that he came in and didn't do well at was Chicago game. He came out. He's been balling out. I'm not really sure. I think Chad said that. I was thinking about this week whether or not he is still on contract after this year. I think his contract ends up. Is it this year, Chad? Did it end?
He's an unrestricted free agent for the next 2 years, meaning the Ravens would have to cut or choose to trade him for him to go somewhere else. He's not like a free agent or anything. So
gotcha.
Just depends on the. I mean, I'd imagine that, like we said in the previous spot, I'd imagine that Ravens going to hold on to him and not let him, see the open market. He's on our team unless Ravens trade or cut him.
All right. But either way, he looks good. So hopefully all that's true and we don't lose him next year unless it's by our choice and we get something really good for him. But yeah, man, he stepped up. Our offense looked good. We used Bateman a lot. He was the main target this week. He had 10 targets this week. I like that we're utilizing him a lot more down the stretch. Hopefully that runs into next season. Chuck Clark, as much as I hate our safeties, look good. I mean, pick 6, you can't really argue that. And then the other pick was awesome too. But hey, man, we were playing some really good players. We had Cooper Kupp, best receiver in the league. Odell Beckham, one of the best hands in the league, and he proved that on that last catch, 4th and 5, when their game-winning touchdown drive where he actually got the touchdown. Higbee, I mean, it was a tough team, man. We looked good, but it is what it is. We're moving on to Steelers this week. Hopefully, we can pull that one out.
Yeah, and as always, we're going to be wrapping up with the Steelers coverage for that game as well towards the end of the pod. I just felt that once we started kicking field goals, I was like, oh, shit. We started kicking field goals. They started scoring touchdowns in the second half, and I was just like, fuck, momentum is – we just can't get it. We couldn't get in the end zone yesterday. Yeah. As good as Tyler Huntley played, 20 of 32, 197 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a really weird interception. He threw a pick down the sideline, and when he threw it, I knew it was going to get picked. It gets picked, and then I'm like, God damn, like he chucked the ball all the way down the field. So this return is going to be crazy. He ends up returning it, back inside Baltimore territory. I don't know whether that was like a miscue from him or a miscue from Marquise Brown. I'm not entirely sure. They're working Bateman more into the offense. I figured they would do this. Like once he got healthy, because remember, he missed the first month of the season with an injury. He comes back in, and they slowly have worked him into the offense in a way that I like and I appreciate, because use your dogs if you got them, according to Marquise Brown. It's such a gut punch of a game. The Van Jefferson tackle, Chad, was hilarious because it's athletic as shit, because it looks like he's going to go get Odell Beckham. Odell passes it back, and he almost like changes his mind like mid-flight and gets the tackle on the other guy. That was an impressive tackle. Yeah. You say, oh, he looks really great. It probably helps that he hasn't played most of the season, right? Yeah. He picked him up a couple weeks ago. He's fresh. That was a hell of a tackle. I was shocked by that. I was talking last week about the makeshift offensive line, and it kind of showed today, right? Like there were a lot of plays where Tyler Huntley. I know. I was going to say Lamar Huntley. It's a combination, a hybrid. That would be the greatest dual threat quarterback of all time, right? If you just
that'd be scary.
Man, that would be something, right? No, so Tyler Huntley took a lot of sacks from their defensive line, and it really disrupted the game. I mean, one of the touchdowns that we could have gotten in the first half, he throws the ball to the back of the end zone. Aaron Donald's there to chip him, and that's enough, and that we settle for 3 points. Chuck Clark interceptions, they were bad throws by Matt Stafford. I'll just say that. And Brad, you were talking last week about how he's been making errant throws. I think that's really going to hurt them in the playoffs. The first one, he throws it, and Chuck Clark just jumps the route, gets the pick 6. The second one, he threw it into like triple cover.
I don't think he saw the safety. Yeah, I don't think he saw the safety. I think he thought Odell just had those 2 players beat and threw that ball up. The safety just slipped underneath and took it.
What happens next week against the Steelers? Brad, we'll start with you. How do you know? Gosh, we're like simpatico at this point. We've been doing so many podcasts.
We have no chance of making the playoffs. I guess the only thing that we can do that favors us is stop Big Ben from getting to the playoffs on his last game of his career in the regular season. Other than that, I don't see any benefits of him getting into the field. There is no. Chad said, what do we have, 3.5% chance of getting it? And I think we have 3.5 chance of getting it even if Lamar or Huntley's in. at this point, to tell you the truth. So why risk hurting Lamar? He's already sat 4 weeks, sit him a fifth week, and then go into the off season, allow him to get the rehab he needs for whatever is actually wrong with his ankle. 4 weeks is a tough time to be out for your ankle. So I don't really know if that's all it is, but let him rest up and then come into next year trying to make a stand and take over the division, because Bengals are doing that right now. And I'd rather not waste Lamar Jackson if we don't have to.
So I definitely understand that argument. Sure. Chad, what do you think?
I'd say sit him because, like Brad said, our playoff chances are pretty kaput. And I saw that people were seeing Lamar limp on the sideline during the game, so he's still obviously in pain. He practiced one day last week on Wednesday, and he didn't practice Thursday or Friday. And the whole practice, if you watch the highlights, he's limping the whole time. If he's limping during this game on the sideline, people notice. I mean, if he's not healthy, don't play him. No point. What do you think?
It depends on how bad his injury is, right? I've never really had an idea. Like, I compare him to Baker Mayfield this year, right? We knew what Baker Mayfield's injury was. He's been battling it since week 2 with the Browns. With Lamar's injury, it's like, yeah, it's a bone bruise, but it is so game to game of who our quarterback is going to be. You know what I mean? It's like, again, for this, like the second or third week in a row, we're like, oh, is Lamar going to come back? Is he healthy? Is he going to be able to take the field? And every single week, it seems to be a mystery as to whether or not he's going to go or not.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing. I think that that's really telling that the information is being so tightly controlled. If it's something like a bone bruise, like literally, we are hanging on the edge of our seat all week for the past month to figure out who's going to be starting at quarterback. If he is hurt, then yeah, he should sit. I don't want him to play if he is injured. He's coming up on a contract year. And I don't think it's necessary other quarterbacks are shutting down. I mean, Baker Mayfield's going to get surgery on his shoulder, apparently, as soon as possible. Should have been done a long time ago, but that's just me.
Yeah.
If that's the case and Lamar is hurt, you might as well just sit him for this game. I think that's probably the best way to go about it, right? I mean, what's the point of, and even if he wasn't injured and he was good to go, you're going to have to knock off, a month's worth of rust or whatever to just get back in it for what? The last game of the season where your team might get a winning record or they might not. Like, it's just, there's not a whole lot to play for. I agree. I think they should sit him, let Huntley finish out the season. It's crazy that we don't have a timetable for his return if it's something like a bone bruise. It's just like wild to me that we're not getting more information and we're hanging on the edge of our seat every single week to find out who our quarterback is. So, I mean, I guess that's where I'm at with it. The problem that I have with the offense is we can't finish in the red zone. And I think that's just, it's been biting us all year, really. And I just don't see it getting any better given the fact that Lamar will not play. I mean, that seems to be a theme on this podcast a lot. Like, Lamar needs to play if we need a chance to win these games. So I don't know. Like I said, we're going to break down the Pittsburgh game a little bit later in the pod, but I'd agree with you guys. I think that they should just sit him. I don't really see the point of him going out there. So let's switch on over to defense. Interesting numbers about Chuck Clark. So Chuck Clark, they had a graphic up that said he had gotten 3 interceptions in the past 77 games. And in this game, he has 2. So I view that performance as kind of an outlier. They had a strip fumble. They were going to go and score. They recovered the strip fumble, which was a huge play. They almost had another one in the fourth quarter with like 5 minutes left to go. He gets hit by the safety, lands on his elbow. Obviously, he's down, but the ball does squeak out. That gave me a glitter of hope. I thought that they played well enough to win. That seems to be the general consensus. Chad, what were some of your was there any player that really stood out to you on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, they definitely played well enough to win the game. If the offense punches in touchdowns instead of, field goals when they're in that red zone like that, we win the game, I think. I think we get one touchdown if we get a touchdown instead of a field goal that last drive, we win the game. Tavon Young, 7 tackles. Jimmy Smith, he had that big play on that 3rd down and 1, on Sony Michel on that outside stretch run. That was a big play. Tyus Bowser. It's been 4 or 5 years coming, but he finally broke out this season. He had that strip sack and that was huge. Like, they were in the red zone, they were about to score, take the lead for the first time. That was a huge play. I mean, he got more playing time because Owe was out. It was a surprise. We didn't hear anything about his foot injury until he was missing practice all week. But I mean, a lot of these young guys, Brandon Stevens, I mean, he's still young, the safety, but he's playing well for, I mean, situation. We got Metabikwe back. No one really had a bad game. I'm going down the list of players that played this week. I think we did a good job of, limiting the big play. There was 3 big plays, 1 to Higbee and 2 to the Cooper Kupp, I believe. Obviously, their touchdowns were big plays, but the first touchdown to Cooper Kupp after the interception, they were saying, you had outside leverage, so don't bite outside, play inside. He's one of the best at faking routes. Matthew Stafford said that. He fakes inside, outside, he goes inside wide open. So that was a big play on Queen. Cooper Kupp's playing lights out this year, so.
Isn't he in like the top 5 now for receiving yards in a single season? It's something like that. He's absurd. He's collected like 1,900 yards or something crazy like that. He has 1,829 yards this season. Yeah. No one's been able to stop Cooper Kupp, as far as I'm. Let me ask you this. So the draft is coming up. We're going to have a semi-decent draft pick. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of the first round. Would you use that pick on the defense, or would you use that pick on an offensive player?
So we're getting back Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Deshaun Elliott.
Maybe. Deshaun Elliott, there's been a lot of reports that Deshaun Elliott, since his contract is up, they have to make a decision on him. So we might have that.
Geno Stone is looking pretty decent. He's played well the games he's played. Pass rush and offensive line are where I would focus personally.
Pass rush, 100%.
Yeah, pass rush or offensive line. The cost. Our organization always picks best player available. So I think they would love to get offensive line or pass rush. If we have a pass rush, so many of these games would be totally different.
Or if we could defend another team's pass rush.
Yeah, or if we don't take 3 sacks. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with the way that our quarterbacks play, that just seems to be they're going to take a lot of sacks because they're more mobile.
Yeah.
Brad, what do you think?
I would definitely get a pass rush, pick up somebody young. We have so many, obviously, our secondary isn't that good. Obviously, we were 32nd in the league. That's because of, like Chad said, the 2 big guys on the left and right side that are out. We have these young guys that are in that develop through the years. I mean, we can try and pick up a safety or something through free agency. If I don't really know who's going to be available this year, but I'd much rather spend our picks on trying to build up our pass rush. It showed this last game. I mean, obviously Oweh's out, but we only got that 1 sack. That strip sack was the only sack that we got on Matt Stafford. Then he was able to stand in that pocket and deliver to big name receivers. I mean, you got to have somebody that is disrupting his vision to be able to stop him, because when you got a quarterback that can sling it and doesn't mind slinging it, even after throwing 3 or 4 picks in a game, he just continues to throw it because they trust his arm. And you got Cooper Kupp and Beckham on the other end. You got to be able to get to that quarterback so that get those picks and stuff like that from getting errant throws and stuff like that. So I'd much rather have that. And our offensive line is weak, so I would like to try and build that as well. But I would first go with the pass rush.
Every single Ravens game that I watch, I always expect when we get pressure, I'm always hoping that there were a couple times this game where it was we had wide open shots on Matt Stafford and he gets the ball out. He's a veteran, right? He understands when to feel pressure. The crazy thing is, I think the pass rush this year is better than the pass rush from last year. I like the impact that Justin Houston has had on the defense. I think every single game, I feel like I hear his name called at least once for making a play. But yeah, I mean, the offensive line is kind of a mess too, right? Ronnie Staley hasn't played for 2 years. I know that people say that he's the best left tackle in the league. He's only the best left tackle in the league if he plays. What's the status of there have been so many injuries that you haven't really had time to sit and focus on one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if he's going to be injured constantly, Villanueva's got to go back to right tackle at some point if he comes back. Did he play well enough at left tackle this year? A position that he played in Pittsburgh. That was his main position, and I haven't been too impressed with him. He takes a lot of penalties, holds, and stuff like that. Yeah, and what's going to happen when you move him back to right tackle, a position he's not used to playing? I would like to see us draft a guy like Penei Sewell or something like that, just this big dominant offensive lineman. And I know Ben Cleveland, considering that Ben Cleveland is a rookie that we picked up in the 3rd round, he didn't do a terrible job against Aaron Donald. There was one, he got him good with a swim move. He's going to go down as one of the greatest defensive linemen who ever played. There's so many things with this team that are just a little bit off. And if you just had a little bit of more talent on one side of the ball, it could swing a couple of these games one way or the other. So, all right. So it's Steelers week, round 2 this week. We have them this time at home, so it will be in the bank. And it's going to be Ben Roethlisberger's last game, potentially. Seems like it. I mean, the way that things went during the Browns game, it definitely seems like this is it. Like, he understands his limitations, and he's going to ride off into the sunset as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. And a gigantic pain in the ass for us, frankly. And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to be playing football, it's good to be a pain in the ass, because that probably means your team wins a lot. I want to do like an in memoriam for Ben Roethlisberger, because he's been in our division for 18 years. It's the official changing of the guard in the AFC North. He was the last holdout as a quarterback from the heydays of the 2000s and 2010s. I guess the one thing that I'm going to remember the most about him is how many motherfuckers it took to actually tackle this guy, right? Like, there were times in his prime where it looked like you were trying to tackle a fucking oak tree.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just, Haloti Ngata broke his nose in 2010. That was kind of exciting.
We lost that game, but
we did lose that game. I know, which is crazy, because if you've broken your nose, like, how the fuck did he see?
The toughest person I've ever watched play the game. As much as I dislike him, the man is tough as fuck.
How many tackle for losses did he break out of and throw a bomb down the field to Santonio Holmes or Antonio Brown? I mean, it's a rivalry. I mean, one of the best rivalries, but we have a lot of respect. I think it's because we have a lot of respect for each other. Big Ben's a future Hall of Famer. Some of our fondest moments of as memories as Ravens fans is playing against Big Ben and Steelers. It's officially an error. Oh, curious to see who the next QBs can be. They're a great organization. They have one of the best coaches in the league, so they're going to figure it out. If it takes 2 years, it takes 2 years, but I think they will eventually figure it out. Kudos to Mike Tomlin. Was it 15 consecutive years without a losing record?
He's never had a losing season ever.
Yeah, never. That win solidified it.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah, the Joe Flacco year when he was out, they were because of injuries. But
Brad, do you have any moments with Big Ben?
Nothing specific that I can really think of. The only main thing that comes up to me is because I was bit in the ass by a pit bull. Chad, when you were at the game, we were watching the game at our boy Brandon's house. Ravens Steelers, he threw a pick to Ed Reed. I jumped up in excitement, and this pit bull bit me right on my ass. So if I didn't like him on the field, I don't like him because of that too, because that shit hurt so bad.
Was that maybe Ed Reed's fault? Because Ed Reed's my favorite Raven of all time, and every time he got an interception, I would always stand up because I'm like, man, fuck, this dude could take it like all the way back to the house.
Yeah, I guess you could blame it on that, but either way, I remember that shit hurt so bad. And she bit and latched. She didn't like. I felt like, you know how like Forrest Gump, he goes, something bit me.
Yeah.
That was kind of like my reaction, and I just kind of fell over and was like, she bit my ass.
Yeah.
So
I still got that picture.
He is very, very tough. I mean, me and Chad, we play with Trevor Wright, 6'6" dude, just trying to tackle that guy. I mean, he had trouble when we would hit him, but we're not that big a dude. So you're just thinking like Big Ben's getting hit by 280, 200, you know what I mean, plus dude. And the fact that he could stand up and make a pass like that with two people hanging on him is absolutely incredible.
Dude, that's the worst. Yeah, the passes he made with people like hanging off.
That's the one. That's the big thing incredible. I take away from him. It's just like, goddamn, any other quarterback would have just. And maybe that explains why he's not playing into his 40s. You know what I mean? Right. All these quarterbacks now. You got Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I mean, if he even thinks he's going to get sacked, he fucking lays down. Like, yeah. And in some ways, it's avoiding the inevitable. But Big Ben never played like that. The feelings that you get from beating the Steelers too, Big Ben is a large part of that. Because I would always say, like, man, we Big Ben and fucking into like we beat these guys. We're legit. He's been an interesting metric. But let's get to the game. Enough with the Big Ben love. Here's what ESPN has for this matchup. It is very interesting. So the matchup predictor has the Ravens favored 59.8%. The spread is -5.5 in favor of Baltimore. The over-under set at 41.5, so they don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. If I'm a betting man, I would put money on the Steelers winning this game. I don't think they are going to win. I think it's difficult to go into a place and play your last potential game against your biggest arch rival. It's going to be loud in the bank, right? It's almost like he got his send-off last week. It's going to be very different in Baltimore. But if I'm a betting man, I truly believe that there is something to a guy's last ride and that guys play for that guy. It's not a guarantee with a team that's lost 5 games in a row and a team that has a quarterback that's about to ride off in the sun. Brad, am I crazy on that, or do you think that there's some merit there?
2012, 2013 Baltimore Ravens. That's all I have to say. Ray Lewis did his little thing. He was going off in the sunset, and they took him to a fucking Super Bowl. So we'll see if the same thing happens.
Peyton Manning in 2015, the year that he set all those records in Denver was the year before he retired. The year he retired, he was shot. He was a shell of himself. And what did they do? They won the fucking Super Bowl.
Both teams technically still have a chance to make the playoffs, so it's not going to be, one of those games that mean nothing to either team. We just got to stop Najee Harris from having a huge game. I think that's the biggest thing. We can stop the run, force Big Ben to win the game, because Big Ben, what was his stats?
I've got 24 for 46, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
He threw 49. Wait, how many times?
He threw 46 times against
46 times and got 100 and how many?
123 yards.
Damn.
But isn't that what we've been saying about the Steelers for a while?
That's what I'm saying. If it's all Najee Harris and short pass game. And so, Big Ben's not going to beat us, but his team could beat us. TJ Watt single-handedly beat us last time. TJ Watt was the reason Lamar was little off on that pass to Mark Andrews for the win.
That defense 100% can.
Yeah, that defense definitely can beat it.
So
they got 7 sacks last time.
Yeah.
Let's do from the previous game. Najee Harris had 21 carries, 71 yards. The great thing about Baltimore, when we do our pod wrap up next week, this is going to be something I definitely mentioned. The run defense was absolutely incredible this year again.
Yep.
Just seems like that's just something we know how to do. He had 5 catches for 36 yards, a long of 18, and he was targeted 5 times. That's a problem, obviously. It was just announced today that Joe Mixon for the Bengals, he's not going to be playing against the Browns because he tested positive for COVID. There's always the possibility that one or two of these, or both of these teams really could get affected by that. Lamar Jackson was playing in this game the last time that we played the Steelers. He won't be playing this week. I'm shocked that the line is at -5.5. I guess what they're saying is, it's just home field advantage and Ben's having a hard time throwing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do we have any score predictions? Chad, we'll start with you.
21-17, Ravens.
Seems reasonable. Brad, what do you got?
I'm going to go 23-20, Boswell field goal beats it.
Oh, Steelers.
It just seems like that's going to happen. That's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you look at the two teams, so in the past 5 games, we've gone 0-5. They've gone 3-2. They beat us. They beat the Titans 19-13, and they just beat the Browns last week. I'm going to do a heart pick. For anyone in Flock Squawk who thinks that I'm just not fan enough, this is where this week I'm going to prove you wrong. I've got 23-20 Ravens.
Oh.
I think Justin Tucker finishes out the season with a game-winning field goal, and I think we have enough talent to get down at least. The thing with Justin Tucker is you can line him up. He can hit a 66-yarder on flat land, right? Yep. So if you need to, you can go for a desperation field goal to win the game.
Well, it's going to be cold. The ball's not going to travel 66 yards. We're not indoors here.
True.
So I'm going to say 60 is probably the most that he can kick. Since we have complete opposite on this, we're going to have to put $100 for, I'm saying Boswell kicks the field goal and not the $20 million man.
Oh, really? I'll go with $1. Do you realize that it's January and I just got done Christmas? I'm broke as a joke.
I haven't had $100 in like 2 months in my pocket, so you're cool.
I get it now. You're doubling up through me. You can go on all these sites. You can go on FanDuel. But you're like, you know what, man? I know a sucker when I see one. Super.
Yeah,
$100. No, dude. So here's the weather. Thank you for mentioning that. It's going to be 39 degrees and rainy. By the way, in Maryland, it's been a shit show weather-wise. There's been
we
snow
got
everywhere.
7 inches. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean,
Chad, you don't know 7 inches.
Ooh, he said it. I didn't.
What did
I
you
didn't
say?
say it.
What did you say?
Nothing. I was just kidding.
Nothing. Not important.
Take a shot.
Be 39 degrees and it's going to be raining. So that tells me we're going to be running the ball a lot. Maybe it works in favor for Baltimore. Maybe if we run the ball a little bit. Devonta Freeman has played really great this year. This guy deserves a lot of credit for like literally coming in at the last minute, needing a job and earning his spot. I'm going to real quick. I want to look at his numbers because every time I see Devonta Freeman play, I'm always like blown away by the fact that he always seems to get a big pop every game. He can run in between tackles really well. I've just been really impressed with him. This is crazy to me. He's only rushed for 555 yards this season.
Well, absolutely. It's been a 1-2 punch with him and Murray. Murray's probably only ran it 400 yards, but even when we have our starters, Gus, Dobbins, one ran for 600, one ran for 700 last year.
Yeah.
So we have a 3-headed monster back there, so nobody's ever really going to get all those touches.
Yeah.
And Latavius Murray was hurt too, right? It's not like he played every single game.
Ankle. He was out 3 games.
Yeah. So and he's got 351 yards rush. Let's do the playoffs. Fuck it. We might as well. The Ravens, Chad, what's the shot that they get in again?
3.5%. We need. Let me pull up the schedule because I'll show you what we need to happen. So we need the 2-14 Jaguars to defeat the 9-7 Colts at home. Then we need the Dolphins to lose to the Patriots or tie to the Patriots. And the Dolphins are at home. And then we need 9-7 Raiders to beat the 9-7 Chargers at home. And then we need to win, obviously. So 2 of those things are pretty possible. Dolphins lose, and I think there's a good chance Chargers lose. But Indy losing to Jaguars? I don't know. But here's the thing. Indy hasn't won in Jacksonville since 2014.
Well, hopefully they're 0-7 after this week.
Yeah, hopefully they're 0-7.
They don't like warm weather?
I don't know. I hope Trevor Lawrence pulls it out for it.
It's a lot to bank on, though. At least Urban Meyer's not coaching. If Urban Meyer was coaching in this game, I'd be like, what's in it for the Jags to beat the Colts? To keep the streak alive, I guess? I mean, 0-7?
The division, are they in the same division?
Same division, yeah, it's a division game.
Yeah, but they're not. It's not like they're in the hunt.
I mean, I guess if they want to play for the first round pick, but they're not going to.
They still do, right? Because Detroit. Well, no, because Detroit has that tie.
Detroit has the only tie, yeah. But they won 2 games. They won 2 games and have a tie, so they're actually ahead of Jacksonville right now.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, if Jacksonville wins and Detroit loses, Jacksonville goes to the second pick. But I don't think they care because they have a quarterback and they know Detroit's going to go for a quarterback.
Right.
So I doubt they really care about that.
If the Colts win, does it affect their seeding at all?
Depends on if the Patriots lose.
Right.
But yeah, they can't win the division.
Tennessee could get the 1 seed. Who are they playing in the last week? They're playing
Texans. Yeah.
Who are squirrely? I define them as squirrely. They've hung in against some teams. They've beaten some teams that maybe they shouldn't have beat.
Yeah, but if Derrick Henry comes back, he's not. They have no chance.
And so that talk is starting. Thank you for mentioning.
He's supposed to practice today.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
No way. That could be a team that surprises some people then.
Oh yeah, well, it could have been nice too. Just would have fucking came back last week, so I used for my fantasy. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Brad, congrats, Brad. Make it to the championship. You lost by 8 points or something like that, but
4 points, and I came in third in my other league, but I lost it to the championship by 9 points in that one. So that kind of sucks. Both of them my flex players. Both of them I had a player. So I had Rex Burkhead last week. He went off for 24. He was my flex. I took him out on that Friday and I put Pollard in. And then this week I had either Patterson. I had Patterson in and took him out. Even if I put Michael Gallup in, that 1 touchdown would have had me the freaking championship. But
you had Cordero Patterson on your fantasy team, and you benched
No. Peterson. Sorry, it was the backup running back for Washington.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he blew up.
Yeah, he went off for 20 points. But literally, I had my guy Gallup in my flex, and I took him out, put DJ Moore in. DJ Moore only got 5 points.
Yeah, you did a little bit too much tinkering.
A little too much at the end of the I did it within like 5 minutes of them being able to change my roster year. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Because I was the only one without paperwork going around drafting. I was picking players. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're not even gonna look at the sheet." And I was like, "Fuck no, I'm just picking more players." And
the sheet doesn't matter if those guys get injured during the season anyway.
Injuries and waiver. Yeah, I mean, your team's made in the waivers, baby. Here's a fun fact. I don't know if you guys know this. Colts and Jags play at 1. Chargers and Raiders play at 8. So they'll already know if the Colts won. And if the Colts lose, do you think the coaches get together around like 4 or 5 o'clock? Hey, do you guys just want to tie? We both make it to the playoffs?
Absolutely. I would.
That would be horrible for us because we need the Raiders to beat the Chargers. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened before. If there's ever been an opportunity for that to happen. So I don't know.
I don't think there's been an opportunity for it.
So that'll be crazy.
They just call it 0-0. Nobody get past half field.
Yeah, just take knees the whole time.
You know how many people would be so upset? It's like there's a guy who's like, you know what, man, I couldn't afford a first-round playoff ticket, but if I'm going to see my team for the last week, this is the week I'm going to go. He buys a ticket. He goes to the stadium. They tie. Well, fuck. Now I could go to the playoffs. I wasted my ticket on this game that both these teams didn't want to fucking invest anything in. Why did I pick this ticket? Why do I love this team? I don't know.
At least his team goes to the playoffs.
We've seen crazy stuff before, right? We just saw Antonio Brown like rip his shirt off and say peace out to the NFL. I mean, that's probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
What a strange thing that was.
And then they have reports that are like, oh, well, if he comes back, then the obvious place for him to go is Baltimore. And you're like, huh? What?
Well, we don't need that shit.
Why? Because his cousin is on the team? That's the only way he would get in. I don't see Tennessee losing to Houston, although I think it's risky. They can get frisky if they want to. I still think they win that game. It is on the road. It would be tough. But Tennessee has a good shot at the first seed, and they want it because they want Derrick Henry to be back healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. It's a big story going into the postseason this year. For the wild card games, 7th seed is still the Chargers. Still the Chargers. Although the Raiders could make things interesting, right? Like if the Raiders win this game, Vegas is in the playoffs the way I have it. Vegas would be in the playoffs as the 6th seed, and the Colts would be the 7th seed. The way I have it right now, the Chargers are the 7th seed if they beat the Raiders. And the 6th seed is Indianapolis for me. They are on the road against the Jaguars. It's a game that they need to win. We need them to lose. I would love it if they did lose. I just don't think that that's going to happen. The 5th seed is New England, and that's because, I mean, they dominated the Dolphins. What did we say about the Dolphins, dude? As soon as they started playing a good team, they got blown out by 40 points. Just blew them out.
Miami. And we're not a good team. They blew us out.
True. Right. Like, I mean, I'm not going to – it wasn't 50-10, though. I mean, that was the final score. Holy shit. With a rookie quarterback? Yikes, dude. So New England's at that 5th seed. They're going to be playing the 4 seed. That's going to be Buffalo. It's going to be New England at Buffalo. And that's
divisional matchup.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be the 3rd time they play this year. I think New England takes it personally. But we'll go into that more next week. The Colts would be playing the Bengals with the Bengals at home as the 3 seed. The Chargers would play Kansas City at the 2 seed.
Another divisional matchup.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's usually how it goes, right? For the playoffs. I mean, it seems to shake out that way. You at least have one. Those are the teams I have. Not a whole lot has changed, I don't think. So except Tennessee getting the first seed, obviously. Is there any other team? I mean, the Raiders could theoretically, if they beat the Chargers here and a bunch of things shake out a certain way, the Raiders could come in as a 6th seed. That would be crazy. But they just had a wide receiver get a DUI again. I don't know what his deal is going to be. I know Joe Mixon is going to be out. Baker Mayfield's not going to play. So that Bengals Browns game might be a shit. You never know. But even if the Browns win that game, it doesn't change a whole lot for me. They would just go from the 3 seed to the 4th seed, and Buffalo would move up. They've already won the division.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could talk about that. Good for the Bengals clinching the AFC North first time in 6 years.
In a while.
Yeah, I think it was 2015.
Yeah, so good for them. I mean, I saw them coming. I thought it would take another year for them to get in contention, but with the way the AFC North shook out and how weak teams ended up being all around. Cincinnati took advantage of that. So
yeah, hey, they took advantage of the situation. They won the division
for sure. So
For
and
sure.
Zach Taylor gets to keep his job.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna fire him.
No, he was on the hot seat, not this year.
What do you guys think our record would have been had we not been minus 25 people this year?
Well, in the beginning of the pod, in our preseason pod, I think we had us going 12-4, right?
Yeah, 12-4, 13-3, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's very possible.
I'm sorry, 12-5 because of the new extra game.
True. 4 games we lost by 1 point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, also I don't think we lose both those Bengals games. I feel like maybe we split one of them because we have somebody covering Higgins, we have somebody covering Chase.
I can't.
Other than that, I mean, the two games I was really worried about was Green Bay and Rams game because they're both slingers, and we damn near beat both teams with our backup.
We lost by 1 point to both teams.
Those are the two games I was worried about. So I honestly think that our team, if we were not injured, I think we actually would have done I think we might have only lost 1 or 2 games, if that.
I can't wait to listen to the old ones. I'm going to listen to our preseason pod. So when we do our postseason pod, we're going to compare the two. And it's going to be a lot. I'm really looking forward to it because this is where we can have like some really good conversations about some of the stuff that's coming up in the offseason.
Yep.
Boys, do you have anything that you want to add?
Nope.
No? All
Hey,
right.
here comes all week is the Dumb and Dumber meme. They're saying we have a chance.
3.5%.
3.5%, baby.
We've got more of a chance than my milk has fat in it.
Nice.
I don't know if that makes a spot. Lame joke. Hey, I was really happy with my Rage Against the Machine joke last week.
Yeah,
and I showed it to Aubrey for the intro, and she's like, "Oh, good joke." I was like, "You know what? Someone out there is going to get it. They're going to get it." All right, boys. Let's call it a day. Brad, Chad, it was great talking to you, as it is every single week. I wish it was under better circumstances, but you know what? The Ravens just haven't. Going 0-5 stinks. It fucking stinks. So we have been very optimistic for this particular week. So I appreciate that. Be safe. Have a great new year. It's 2022. It's a fresh start. And I'll talk to you guys next week after the Steelers game. Yeah?
Yep. Happy New Year. Peace out.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Peace, love.